So today, we're doing a deep dive into a text that's, what, thousands of years old, the Bhagavad Gita.
That's right. And we're looking at why it's maybe more relevant now than ever.
Yeah, especially for things like burnout, anxiety, that paralysis you get when you have too many choices, all the stress of modern digital life.
It's absolutely true. And for this dive, we're kind of setting aside the religious context. We're treating the Gita purely as a, let's call it a psychological toolkit,
A life
a
manual.
700-verse life manual. Yeah.
Uh,
It feels like it was curated specifically for navigating today's information overload and, these high-stress professional lives we lead.
our mission then is to pull out that timeless wisdom. And the whole thing starts, really, with what might be the greatest therapy session ever recorded.
I love that framing.
You have this incredible warrior, Arjuna, right on the edge of the biggest battle of his life. He looks out, he sees his family, his teachers, and he just breaks.
It's a full-blown psychological breakdown, a massive panic attack in our terms.
He literally drops his weapon and says, I can't do this.
And that moment is the perfect metaphor for modern life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't a physical problem. It was decision paralysis. It was this huge moral anxiety and just overwhelming dread.
Right.
And Lord Krishna, who's his guide, he doesn't just lecture him. He gives him a step-by-step roadmap to get his mind back.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate guide to overcoming internal conflict.
So let's start there. Let's start with where so many of us are living right now. This endless cycle of burnout and stress. Our work culture is obsessed with outcomes, with metrics. We're exhausted because we're always working, but we're also terrified the results won't, match the effort.
And that's the core of it. As Krishna sees it, almost all of our modern stress is tied to the foul. That's the Sanskrit word for the fruits or the results of our actions.
The outcome.
The outcome. We suffer because we're already worrying about the result before we've even done the work. Will I get that promotion? Is my startup going to survive? Why did I only get 4 stars on that review?
We spend more time pre-worrying than actually doing.
Exactly. And this is why the foundational teaching in the Gita is so radical. It's the famous one. Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kedachana.
Your right is to the action alone, never to its results. We've all heard it, but what does that actually do for you psychologically?
Well, think about it. When your mind is focused on the result, I'd say at least 50% of your mental energy is just gone.
Anywhere.
It's diverted to fear, to doubt, to anticipating failure, maybe to jealousy of your competitors, all these things you can't control. Krishna says to mentally delete the outcome. Focus only on the execution, the thing that is 100% in your control.
So you're taking back that 50% of wasted energy and you're just reinvesting it into the quality of the work itself.
Precisely. The moment you abandon anxiety about the fruit, the fear just evaporates. Your performance naturally gets better, and you become completely immersed in what you're doing. It's what modern psychology calls the flow state.
You stop being distracted by the future and become incredibly effective in the present. But, okay, here's the challenge. This is what I always wonder. If I really truly stop caring about the outcome, doesn't my motivation just, disappear? Why would I work hard if the results don't matter? It sounds a bit like a recipe for laziness.
That is the most important distinction, and the Gita hits it head on. Krishna is teaching karma phal tyag, that's renunciation of the fruit of action.
Okay.
He's not teaching karma tyag, which would be renunciation of the action itself.
Yeah.
Of work. Your motivation doesn't vanish, it radically shifts its source.
So how does that feel? Where does the motivation come from then?
The work itself becomes a kind of yagya, a sacred duty, or a sacrifice. The purpose is now bigger than just personal gain.
Okay, give me an example.
Think of 2 surgeons. Same high-stakes operation. The first one is motivated entirely by the huge bonus they'll get if it's a success. They're tense, they're distracted by financial anxiety, maybe their hand even shakes a little. Their whole self-worth is tied to this one outcome.
I see where this is going. What about the second surgeon?
The second surgeon sees the operation as their duty, their yagya, the solemn obligation to save a life. They still want to succeed. They still seek mastery, but the motivation is internal.
It's about the craft.
It's about the craft, not the reward. They're focused, they're calm, and their performance is almost certainly better because all their energy is right there in that moment. They're acting without attachment to an outcome that is ultimately beyond their control. That's the difference between action and anxiety.
That reframes everything. And maybe if we start fixating on external results, it helps with the next big problem, which is decision paralysis. Feeling totally stuck. Arjuna felt it. Should I fight my family or run away? We feel it with, stability versus passion or choosing one career over another.
And it's worse than ever now because we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for the answer. You're scrolling on social media, comparing our lives to the curated success of everyone else.
We end up chasing someone else's idea of a good life.
Exactly. We choose paths based on how they look, not how they feel.
So how does Krishna give us an internal compass when there are a million shiny distractions all around us?
He introduces this concept of swadharma.
Swadharma.
It means one's own innate nature, your core duty. It's not a job title. It's your essential wiring, the thing you were built to do. And the guiding principle here is, well, it's brutally honest.
Okay, what is it?
Shreyan swadharma viguna pardarath swanishtata.
Which translates to something like,
It is better to follow your own nature, even if it seems imperfect, than to walk brightly, perfectly, on someone else's path. The glitter of that other path is totally irrelevant if it doesn't match who you are.
but how do you know what your swadharma is? That's the hard part. Most of us don't know our own core nature.
It's found through introspection. It's about recognizing what brings you a sense of sustained contentment, even when it's hard, not just a flash of excitement.
I see.
If you choose a path, say engineering, because it pays well and it looks good, but your core nature is that of a writer, you will always be miserable. Even if you're a successful engineer, you're constantly at war with yourself.
So a correct decision is simply one that aligns with your inner nature. The solution is self-knowledge, not what's trending.
Exactly. It's all internal.
But that self-knowledge needs focus, which brings us right to the biggest fight of the digital age, the untamed mind.
Yes.
We're so easily distracted. One notification can just completely derail an hour of work. How do we get control back?
It's incredible. But Arjuna complained about this exact same thing thousands of years ago.
He did.
He says, Chanchalam himana Krishna. This mind is wavering, Krishna. It's turbulent. It's as hard to control as the wind. He felt it then, and we feel it now, 1,000 times worse.
So if a legendary warrior couldn't control his mind, we should probably be a bit easier on ourselves. But what are the tools? What does Krishna offer?
He gives two methods. The first is abhyasa.
Okay, abhyasa.
It means persistent effort, practice. If your mind wanders 100 times where you're trying to focus, you just gently, without judgment, bring it back 101 times. It's like building a muscle for your attention.
So it's not about stopping the thoughts from coming.
No, never. It's about controlling where your attention goes. You choose where your focus rests.
And the second tool?
The second is vairagya, or detachment. This is about learning to distance yourself from the things that cause you distraction and suffering.
Okay, but I have to push back on that a bit. Vairagya, detachment. It sounds a lot like avoidance. Am I supposed to just ignore that my boss is being unreasonable? Or that my project is failing? How is that practical?
That is a critical point. Vairagya isn't indifference. It's not avoiding the problem. Think of it more like mental filtering.
Mental filters.
Yeah. It means you recognize which thoughts or people are injecting anxiety into your system, and you learn not to engage your emotional self with them. You can observe the unreasonable boss, you can see the difficult market, but you don't let it hijack your internal state. You still act, but you act without the baggage of suffering.
And if you can combine those two, abhyasa and vairagya, what's the result?
The metaphor Krishna uses is profound. The mind can be your greatest friend or your absolute worst enemy. If you leave it untrained, it becomes your boss. It drags you around all day.
Okay.
But if you train it, it becomes your most capable servant, ready to achieve whatever you direct it to do.
You become the master of your own attention. That's a superpower.
It is.
And that leads us to maybe the deepest fear of all, the fear of failure. We tie our identity so tightly to our work. If my company fails, I am a failure. If I get a bad grade, I am worthless.
This is the ultimate identification mistake. We confuse our true self with these, temporary external things. The body, a degree, a job title, a bank balance. And so if that external thing collapses, we feel like our entire sense of self-worth collapses right along with it.
We've built our house on sand.
Exactly. So how does the ancient concept of the Atman act as a kind of psychological insurance policy against this?
Right, the Atman.
Krishna introduces the Atman, the eternal soul. He says it can't be cut by weapons, it can't be burned by fire, it's timeless, indestructible. When you really internalize that your core identity, your true self, is this stable, eternal thing, that identity becomes fundamentally secure. It becomes fearless.
So no matter what happens on the outside, the core of you is safe.
Yes, and suddenly failure is no longer a devastating personal verdict. It's just an event.
An event.
An event in time. Think of it like this. You are the screen In a movie theater, the movie playing might be a tragedy, it might be a total flop. But you are the screen. The screen is always stable, always untouched by the drama playing on its surface, realizing that is the source of the fearlessness you need to take real risks in this world.
That security is so important, not just for careers, but for our relationships, too.
Yeah.
So much of our modern anxiety comes from the insane expectations we put on other people, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We expect our partners or friends to behave in a certain way to make us feel okay, and then we're constantly hurt or disappointed when they, act like human beings.
So what's the Gita's principle for relationships?
The word is samatvam, equanimity. It means maintaining an even temperament, a sameness through all the ups and downs, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat.
And how do we apply that to the people we love?
It comes down to understanding the massive difference between love and attachment. Attachment says, I am happy only if you fulfill my needs. I'm happy if you act the way I want you to act. It's conditional. It's transactional, really.
A transaction, yeah. So what is love in this context?
Love, in the Gita sense, is unconditional action. I perform my duty to you, my care, my support, my commitment, without demanding a specific result or behavior from you in return.
Which means you absolutely have to stop outsourcing your own happiness to someone else.
That's the core of it. Your happiness has to be generated internally.
Yeah.
Once you've done that work, you can love people from a place of giving, not from a place of constantly asking them to make you feel whole. It takes so much pressure off everyone.
This has been, wow, a really practical deep dive. So to wrap this all up, for the listener who wants to start using this today, what are 3 simple actionable steps, a daily toolkit?
Okay, yes, we can absolutely distill this into 3 steps for immediate use.
Perfect. Lay them out for us.
1. The 5-minute morning reflection. Before you even look at your phone, just take 5 minutes. Mentally affirm this one intention. Whatever work I do today is my duty, my karam. The result is not in my hands. I will simply do my best in the process.
So you're setting the frame for the entire day.
You're releasing the anxiety before it even has a chance to start. The sources say this one shift can reduce daily stress enormously.
Okay, number 2.
2. Moderate living. The Gita calls it yukta ahara vihara. It insists that you can't have inner peace without outer discipline. So focus on balance. Not too much sleep, not too little, not too much food, not too little. A disciplined life is the foundation for a peaceful life. Chaos on the outside creates chaos on the inside.
Simple, but not easy. What's the 3rd one?
3. This is the most powerful. Detached involvement.
Detached involvement.
Or Leela, the play. Dive into your work 100%. Give it everything you have. But at the same time, hold this little awareness in the back of your mind that it's all a cosmic play. Think of an actor. An actor cries real tears on stage. They feel the emotion deeply, but internally, they know they're acting. Their core identity is untouched by the character's fate.
So you play your role, the CEO, the artist, the parent, with total commitment, but you never confuse the role with your real self.
Exactly. Engage fully with the world's work, but don't let the temporary results, good or bad, define who you are. It's a psychological safety net that allows you to operate fearlessly.
Detached involvement. That's the secret to performing at your peak while protecting your own peace. This just shows that the Gita really is a complete guide for almost every problem we face today.
It's ancient wisdom for 21st century chaos.
So as you head into your next big meeting, your next stressful deadline, consider this final thought. How would that principle of detached involvement change your approach? If you treated your highest stakes task like an actor in a compelling but ultimately temporary play, how much of that fear would just instantly melt away? Practice your karam and find your peace in the process.